Welcome back to more F1 2017 here. This is part number 23 and the Bahrain Grand Prix of Season 2 with McLaren Honda. Now, this circuit last year, not a good one for us. I mean, the early part of last year was not exactly a good season for the McLaren, but this is like the first major power circuit. There's not really much in the way of corners and everything that suits the car that will allow me to drag sort of more out of it, unfortunately, unlike sort of, you know, China and definitely Australia. So we're going to find a bit more of an uphill battle in this one, you know, basically seeing as the whole first sector and the final sector are all power based and our engine is still getting there slowly, but nonetheless I am confident that we can do what we do all the time, which is drag some more out of the car than we normally do. You see us there with Alonso and myself in the garage getting ready for practice, in which we're going to briefly just run over the setup for this race. So I went for standard sort of wings, and then my usual sort of differential. I've changed it. I used to go more locks than unlocks for the on throttle, but I found the unlock makes it a bit more stable. Just try and, you know, squeeze a bit more out of the car with regards to the suspension geometry, and the suspension is just set up so the rear is a little more planted. But there's the setup that I tend to run. That's more sort of my stock setup, which is more like what you're going to see there, and I sort of adapt that with downforce and whatever for each circuit. But you know, we run the practice as we always do. I still do the practice programs in the background, gather the points up, and of course try and further develop this car. We have got the major engine upgrade, the engine power upgrade is on the go. I think that's expected for Canada, and then we will soon be getting the and while obviously we're waiting for that, sorry, we're going to be getting the resource points for the ultimate engine upgrade, which I'm going to hope to add once the major one is done. And then of course we'll be working towards sort of aero and chassis. But you know, the car looks decent going around the Bahrain circuit from what I can see there. So you can see here, this is what I was mentioning. So in fact, no, it's actually in after practice we get the major one. So I'd miscalculated. I thought I'd already processed that, but as it says, expected delivery of this is going to be Canada. 1,350 resource points in the bank. That's going to put us on level with Haas and Red Bull. So I'm pretty excited for that to be applied to the car. That should then jump us ahead of Renault and Toro Rosso in the standings, and we'll be up there with Williams. But now, coming in to qualifying, you can see as we charge down the pit straight, DRS wide open, and of course the match engine mix, trying to get as high as we can, brake just before the 100-meter board for turn 1 as we go towards the first sector. It's 29.8. Carlos Sainz sets the first time on the board with a 31.7, so that's sort of our benchmark, because we are sort of around the Toro Rosso in regards to performance. Bottas smashes that by like 2 seconds. As we come through the second sector, we're not looking too great at the moment. It's very overcast for Bahrain actually, but we power out the final corner, head towards the line, DRS open now, we come across and it's a 1:31.7, and we're slower than Sainz. So yeah, come end of the session, when we come out again, we're looking to go, we are 14th fastest, so we're in there with the Renaults and the Toro Rossos, which according to our performance index is exactly where we should be. And unlike Australia and China, we're not really able to drag as much out of the car, because obviously, as I've said earlier, a lot of power related issues. Nonetheless, we come out, we finish up the first sector, we go a couple of tenths faster, nothing too major, but we're gaining a bit of time there. It's more the middle sector where I lost a lot of time previously. You can see here as we come to the second sector split, 0.3 of a second up. We're 1.5 off the fastest time. I unfortunately lose a lot of time through there, sliding very wide, but gained a lot back through the final corner. DRS open, across the line, and it's only 12th with a 31.4. And that's honestly the most I feel as if I could have got out of the car. And I was only more disappointed when it comes to the end of the session, because Alonso 6th fastest. You see the Red Bulls, the Ferraris, and then the Force India, and then Fernando Alonso, P6. Could not believe what he was able to get out of the McLaren. I sort of just had to take a second. I'm like, really? So yeah, Alonso proving that he has definitely got the speed in qualifying. Let's see what he can do in the race, because he is known for dropping back a little bit, unfortunately. As we just sort of flick down the field here, you got the Toro Rosso, the 2 Haas cars, myself 14th by the end of the qualifying, so didn't really improve. But nonetheless, it's all about what we can do in the race, try and get points on the board, as we have done for the past few rounds and in Season 2.
I, for one, can't wait to get started. And there's another very excited little chap here beside me as well. It's our very own Anthony Davidson. Great to see you again today.
Thanks for that, Crofty. And I'm really anxious to get underway here. We've got all the makings of a great race today. World champions in competitive cars, lots of drivers on form, and I suspect a few strategists on the pit wall looking to try something a bit different and maybe jump their cars up the order.
So Valtteri Bottas on pole position, and this is the first race of the season where we could do a one-stop, we could go from softs to mediums, but it's just not competitive enough. So we're going for a two-stop, start on the soft, go to the supers, then go to the soft tyre. It's a strategy I ran in Spain in Season 1, if you remember the race where I scored my first points and was a big breakthrough moment for us. But now we have 5 red lights. Lights are out and away we go for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Grosjean appears to have had a worse start than myself, so we are going to pull alongside him. Cars behind us moving, you see the red indicator arrows, everyone's on the brakes. We try and bring it nice and slowly down. Don't want to go careening in there into the side of Esteban Ocon. Alonso already down to 8th place. We're fighting Magnussen, we're up to 11th just there as we got squeezed out nearly onto the curb. We're already looking at the back of a points paying position of Daniel Ricciardo and Esteban Ocon. We're going to move to the inside. Everyone going slow into turn 4. Down the inside of the Force India and the Red Bull. Lose the back end of it slightly and then contact between the Force India and myself as Ricciardo and Ocon go side by side through the middle sector, through the left-hander, down towards the hairpin, and we're going to lunge it down the inside of both drivers. Push Ricciardo out wide a little bit. That's going to give Ocon the run on him, and that is us up into 9th place behind Alonso and up into the points. And like I said, on the soft tyre, so we're going to drag this stint out a little bit more, and we're going to hamper Ricciardo's race just a little bit. So let's see what we can now do. We now need to focus, get our foot down and try and stay in touch with Fernando here, because what I wanted to do is get as close to him as possible. Obviously he's going to be on the super soft tyre, so he's going to be on a completely different strategy to us, but let's try and be the superior McLaren today, as now Ocon at the end of lap 3, beginning of lap 4, charges past us with DRS wide open, and he holds it to the inside. He locks up. We're going to have to go round the outside of turn 1, squeeze him. Hand of anger goes up, because I don't think Ocon was going to give us too much room here. Let's have a look at it on the replay. As you see, Ocon charge towards, he gets all locked up. I think both front tyres, yes indeed, both front tyres. We try to go round. Ocon hits our side pod. That's what causes the hand of anger to go up, but yeah, brief scrap with Ocon there, and it's not done as he gets a beautiful run out of the final corner. DRS open across the line. He's ahead of me way earlier this time around. We're going to tuck into the slipstream of the Force India, and we're going to go down the inside this time of turn 1. Keep it nice and controlled. Squeeze him out. Don't give him any room to accelerate. Get on the power, and once again retain 9th place. And thankfully Alonso and the Red Bull of Verstappen haven't got too far up the road. Ocon tries to fight us though into turn 4, manages to pull alongside, but once again we just break that much later and close him against the apex, so he pulls out of the move, and thankfully Ocon not able to get past us. We successfully defend 9th while keeping about a second half, 2 seconds behind Fernando, who now makes his pit stop very early, end of lap 6 early. And you can see Ocon's got a much better run than us out the final corner after the mistake we made. So Ocon pulls ahead. We've got Grosjean behind us in the Haas. We're in the slipstream of the Force India. We dive down the inside once again, squeeze ourselves on the apex, but again retain the position. Still in 6th place due to a couple of pit stops ahead of us. So no, those guys are in early now, and you can see the rest of the field coming in now. We've got Vettel. Who else we got? Perez, Bottas coming out the pits on soft tyres. Ocon once again goes ahead of us here. So while I'm trying to show what's going on in the pit stop phase, Ocon is being a complete nuisance. And he's only really, like, throughout the rest of the lap, he's not really getting anywhere. Like, yes, he might get a good run up to turn 4, as he has done this time around. Pulls side by side once again. And we've got the Haas of Grosjean again once behind me. Squeeze to the inside. Pull back to the racing line. Can Ocon take the position? No, we still hold it all the way around the outside. Thank goodness the track is so wide, you can carry so much speed round there, as we then make a complete mistake and turn in far too much over those sort of corners. But looks like Ocon's lost the position to Magnussen in that exchange actually. So but yeah, sort of cars around us doing very different strategies. As we now talk about cars behind us, it's Valtteri Bottas on lap 9 coming through to take us 4th position into the fast left-hander. Not really much I can do against this here, so just sort of had to let the Mercedes through. They're in a completely different race from us anyway, although I'm getting right in Hamilton's way, which I'm sure the Brit is going to absolutely love. Raikkonen, of course, leads the Grand Prix, so he's had the jump on the on the two Mercedes drivers, of course, because they were first and second on the grid, but Hamilton's had a much better run on the fresher soft tyres at that right hand at the start of sector 3, and he's done me into the final corner. We go out wide, Hamilton sort of parks it. We weren't able to sort of get a good run there, but hopefully we can use Hamilton's a bit of a toe now, because we're going to try and stretch these tyres a little bit. We're looking to pit on lap 11, but we'll see if we can go any sort of longer there as we now build towards turn 1. Hamilton going so slow, I figured let's make a move, let's have a little bit of fun with him into turn 1, because he was right in my line of where I wanted to turn in. I had nowhere to go, I just sort of ploughed into the back of the Mercedes and ruined both of our races. But now, yeah, we cut to the middle of lap 10, and Hamilton's going to get me in the same way that Valtteri Bottas has done. Pulls to the inside, not really much I can do against this here, so I just figured, yeah, that's enough, let him through. Sergio Perez up to 5th on super soft tyres, so I believe he's already made a pit stop. Yes, he did start ahead of us there. We weren't fighting him as we were like Esteban Ocon. So now it's down to us to try and get some laps in, so we get some proper dirty air there off the back of the Mercedes, and of course the worn tyres just pushing me out wide. And team radio.
Your pit window is now open. Fernando sat in P9. Okay, distance to teammate 14.2 seconds. They're on all softs. The time last lap was a 1 minute 35.6.
Okay, so like I mentioned, I want to be the superior McLaren this race. Fernando did a 35.6 last race. Oh, sorry, last lap. So he's sort of lapping as good as, or as fast as my best time. He's closing in on me. The gap is coming down, and he is also lapping quicker than me. So I did ask that information as I sort of come into the pits. Be very careful with the Bahrain pit entry, because it's a horrible one. You know, if you're not prepared for how quick you've got to stop, you are getting a penalty. So I sort of just, at this point in the race, I sort of decided to track Fernando. See what I can do. I dragged the soft tyres 1 lap longer than they were going to go, as Alonso go past us there. So he goes up into 8th. Ocon then passes and Grosjean. So that's how much time we've lost compared to the guys we were battling before I came in. But of course, bear in mind, they've had an undercut on us as Ricciardo goes past, Sainz goes past, Magnussen goes past, sort of. He locks up into turn 1, and we stay ahead of Kevin Magnussen. That is, of course, one of the cars that we were in close proximity with earlier on in the race. But yeah, we saw Fernando was closing back in on us, but we are on a different strategy to Fernando. He is on the soft tyre now, whereas we are on the super soft, and we're now up against guys on the soft tyre, old ones at that. So Carlos Sainz is our first victim, very slow into the triple left-hander, leaves the door open. I just about controlled the car through, and that might be one of my favourite overtakes I've ever done on any Formula 1 game, actually. Just look at the poise of the car, just fresh tyres, excellent grip, bring it in slowly. I get that corner so wrong, so many times. And to get it so perfect and complete an overtake at the same time was a very satisfying feeling for me. We get a team radio here for Ocon having a mechanical issue, who of course we were battling earlier on in the race. So Ocon's now dropping through the field. He was up there with Alonso, and there he is, moving slowly. Must be some kind of puncture, I would assume. Ocon once again on super soft tyres, so probably just pushing him a little bit too far, as we now do a 34 flat. And we're getting up there on Alonso being 7.7 seconds ahead of us. We're now clearly lapping faster than him as Ricciardo now passes Grosjean. So that's the sort of pace that we've had. Grosjean was quite a ways up the field from us, and we've now been able to pull up behind him as we're now in his slipstream in sector 3, coming up to the end of lap 15. Try and get the best exit we can. Unfortunately, still dipping a couple of wheels on the curb, meaning we're not going to get the best run. But we're now in the slipstream of the Haas car. This is going to be for 10th place. It becomes 9th place due to the pit stop of Sergio Perez. But we now DRS open. Can we from a long way back into the brake zone? Grosjean locks up. Leaves the door wide open for us. We're going to swing it straight through. Thank you very much. And that's us back up into 9th place. Daniel Ricciardo once again the car ahead of us. I can't remember at this point if Fernando has made his second pit stop. Because I know he was on a 2-stop. But like I say, he was going super softs to softs. And then Vettel has now come up behind us. So that's one of the cars we are ahead of at lap 18. Like I say, I was just trying to put in laps on the super soft to get the most out of them. We now come in once again end of lap 18. So we was able to super softs last 7 laps around here. But because of that extra lap we did on the soft tyres on the first stint, that's enabled us to mean we've only got to do 10 laps on this final set of tyres as opposed to the 12 we did on the first set. So being a little bit nicer to the super softs as we merge through the Haas of Magnussen. Alonso goes through on medium tyres, so he's gone soft, no, super soft, soft, medium. That's seems like a very unnecessary strategy, but I suppose it depends on the tyre compounds they selected for the weekend. But we come out in 10th, and I was quite pleasantly surprised to find all the cars around me on medium, so now that meant I was on fresh soft tyres, and they were a compound softer than the cars around me. So first lap out the pits, out lap. Ricardo is now on soft tyres, so he's running a similar strategy to myself, only his tyres are now 1 lap younger. So myself and him are going to be trying to cut through the cars ahead of us, see if we can catch him in the remaining 9 laps. So we now get an adjustment to Alonso again.
P7 at the moment. Okay, distance to teammate, 8.2 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. The time last lap was a 1:34.2.
Okay, so 8.2 behind of Fernando, and he did a 34.2 last time around, so that's some quick pace from Fernando. Not as quick as Kimi, though, apparently, with his 32.4. So we did a 34.1 that time around, so we're only gaining a 10th or so on Fernando, which was disappointing. But then there's a group of cars just up ahead of us. You see Ricardo has passed Massa for 9th place. That's who we're sort of looking to eye up next, as we now come through this sort of this sector. We get an update on Alonso again, and it's 5.4. His tyres are wearing out and his lap times are dropping. You see there are 35.9, whereas now in the mid-34s. So we're gaining over a second a lap on Alonso. And you're going to see it here as we get to lap 22. We're getting very close to a group of 4 cars ahead of us. And that group is headed by Fernando. So I don't know, maybe his mediums have gone off, or has he got some kind of issue with his car? As we go into the final sector, we've got a car sideways. It is Alonso. He's off on the side of the road. I don't know if he's maybe had some kind of half spin or on the curb or whatever's happened there. Let's get a replay. He's defending from Ricardo, who goes round the outside. There's tapped. Contact. Alonso half spin. Brings the car to a standstill. Maybe gets it going. Is he going to... I mean, he gets it going, and then he's stopped it there again, just briefly out of shot. So that put us up to 9th. That meant we continued to lap in the mid-34s, but Massa, unfortunately, just had the legs on us in that Williams car. Anything that we were gaining in the corners, we were then losing on the straights. So, yeah, unfortunately, that was the case. You know, the gap sort of ranged around 2 to 3 seconds. It was 2.5 seconds as we start the final lap of the Grand Prix. But we've kept a decent gap to Grosjean. And Alonso did keep running. But, yeah, don't know what happened to his car. Don't know if he was carrying some kind of issue. But he was just very bad in the final stint of the Grand Prix. But nonetheless, we're going to bring it home here. On the final lap of the race, didn't get lapped. Kimi Räikkönen wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. But more to the point, continuing our consistency and our points finishes, we're going to come home in 9th place for Season 2's Bahrain Grand Prix. I'll take points around this track. I bloody hate it.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
So Kimi Räikkönen wins the Bahrain Grand Prix today, like I already mentioned there, from Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton of the Mercedes cars. Looks like the 2-stop was popular today, with the Vettel coming on 4th, Verstappen 5th, Ricciardo in 6th, Sergio Perez a good drive to 7th position, Felipe Massa in 8th in the Williams. Ourselves coming home 1 minute and 10 seconds back in 9th place, but like I say, 2 points, I'm happy with that. Grosjean rounding out the points in 10th, then we got Magnussen, Sainz, Kvyat, Stroll, Palmer, Alonso coming home 16th after starting 6th on the grid, Hulkenberg, Ericsson, Wehrlein, and then the Esteban Ocon. So clearly that puncture had an adverse effect on him, and Hulkenberg with an odd 3-stop strategy. Not too sure what he was going with on that one. The 2-stop looked to be the way to go. But there's our resource points that we're going to gain. And then, of course, our first driver bonus. So we are, of course, like I said, we're now saving up for the ultimate engine upgrade. And that will be the last sort of engine upgrade we look to get, because I don't really care for the fuel-saving ones. If it becomes a major concern, I might go for them. But there's a rivalry with Grosjean due to being 5 thousandths of a second faster on our fastest lap of the race. We outdid him there. But guys, thank you for watching the Bahrain Grand Prix for Season 2. I don't really enjoy this track, so to get points, as you know, it's the third time I've said it, was a nice little surprise, and I'm fairly happy with that one. We've also got an engine upgrade in the work for Canada, so let's see how that goes. Leave a like if you did enjoy and comment any feedback down below. Subscribe for future updates, and I'll see you all next time.